Hi there, Tad Hargrave from Marketing for Hippies, just recording this video here in Edmonton. So $500 is not pay what you can. That's the theme of this video, and here's the story it comes from. So I just sent out an email about Danny Innie's hybrid course university. And in the subject line and in the email, it referred to Danny's courses, Pay What You Can. And somebody wrote, and it's like, normally you're a straight shooter. I can't believe you'd parrot stuff like this. This is not Pay What You Can because there's a $500 deposit, Pay What You Can. So first of all, my apologies, mea culpa. That's true. It's not a straight Pay What You Can deal. And so I should have written modified Pay What You Can or something like that. And it lifts up some really important things to talk about with Pay What You Can if you're considering doing it. Because, so when I first started doing my workshops, pretty much from the beginning, except the first workshop or two, I've done them all on a Pay What You Can basis. And it was just a complete, straight up Pay What You Can thing. And then one day I was in Seattle and I did the workshop, and I had about 36 people or something sign up over the course of the promo for it. And I showed up, and by the time I got there, people were canceling in advance, but there were only 12 people there. And I'd printed off workbooks for everybody, which wasn't cheap. I think it was $40 or $50 a workbook. And it was so heartbreaking. There's also the feeling deflated. You're expecting this many people and you get this many people, and it's it was just so painful. And I vowed I was going to fix that. I never wanted that to happen again, because it's not a great way to start a workshop where the facilitator is really bummed out. And I'd emailed people too. I said, hey, are you coming tomorrow? Oh, I'm actually cleaning my drapes tomorrow. It felt like the excuses were not great, and people say, oh, I should have let you know, and I guess. It's like, yeah, you should have. That would have been nice to let me know. As if their absence wasn't going to have a consequence, and, well, there's our whole society, altogether is constantly being persuaded that we're worthy but inconsequential. Or not worthy, entitled, that we deserve, you deserve this, but you don't matter. So I decided I was going to start charging a deposit. So you can see where this is connected. And I thought, what's the amount I could charge that I wouldn't resent it if people no-showed? And I thought, if people paid $100 for this 3.5-day thing and they just no-showed as a deposit, I wouldn't resent it. It would cover the hard costs of the materials and then some. So that's what I started doing. And then I eventually shifted to more of a day-long model. I haven't done a weekend workshop in a while. And the day-long was a $25 deposit. Now, there's a lot to say about Pay What You Can and how to set it up. I've got a whole eBook about it you can check out if you want. But this deposit thing was one of the big shifts for me, because I stopped getting so many no-shows. That was a lot of it. I thought, if people have some skin in the game, you sign up for something for free, it's Pay What You Can. There's just no commitment, there's no buy-in. And with a deposit, people have to just pause for a second before they actually sign up. Say, wait a second, it was $25, this is $100. Do I really want to do this? And so the no-show rate, at my day-long workshop, I think it's 11% we figured out is the no-show rate. And weekend workshops, because the $100 deposit, less than that. Very few people no-show anymore, which is better for my own emotional well-being. It's better for the workshops. And so that's what I would call a modified Pay What You Can. And I should be better at the language at this point, because people have pointed out, Tad, $100 deposit plus, Pay What You Can is not Pay What You Can, which is true. So, I would call that a modified Pay What You Can. And if you're going to do Pay What You Can, one, I'd recommend reading my book if you're doing it for workshops, because this is something I've worked on for years. But I would really strongly recommend doing the modified version. And so there's another colleague of mine, Russell Scott, and he would do a sort of version of this where he did in-person retreats, meditation retreats, but they were one-on-one, and people could come and then he'd also do group ones where everyone come together. And he figured out what his hard costs were, and he said, look, the price you pay will cover the food, the accommodations, the materials, all the basics. Like he's guaranteed not to lose money on it, and then if you want to pay anything on top of that, feel free. And I think that's a smart model too. Protects you, shields you from a bit of the risk. And with Danny's course, so Danny actually called me and he said, Tad, I know you do Pay What You Can. I'm thinking about trying that. Can you walk me through it? So I sent him my ebook, and then we talked about it. I answered a lot of questions. And truly, I was encouraging him to consider not doing it, because my weekend workshop, there's 0 one-on-one time. It's just a weekend workshop. If 100 people show up, if 10 people show up, I spend the same amount of time. Whereas in he's offering a lot of one-on-one help. So this is something to consider if you're doing Pay What You Can, is how much one-on-one time is there? And making sure that there's an amount coming in that sort of will at least compensate for that or cover that. So so $500 for Danny, given the amount of one-on-one time. When he told me what was included, I said, Danny, that's a lot. Are you sure you want to do Pay What You Can, given how much just staff time is going into each person coming in? And he said, yeah, and he figured out, I think that deposit probably covers it. And I think he wants to know that people have skin in the game, so $500 is the number he came up with, because I think it's about $6,000. He's sold individually these things for $6,000 total. So it's not Pay What You Can, but it is a heck of a bargain, and it is modified Pay What You Can because of the deposit plus thing. So that's something to think about. If you do it with one-on-one coaching, if you do it with group program, something online, you might consider the possibility of a deposit for people to hold their space. It drops the no-shows, increases commitment, it filters out people who maybe were just tire kickers and weren't really into it, and can also set you at your nervous system at ease, that you're not, oh God, what if nobody pays? Because Pay What You Can is a risk. Ask any street performer who goes out and does a killer show, and then it starts to rain right at the end and everybody leaves. With Pay What You Can, it's going to depend a lot on the mood of the population, what's happening in the economy, the town that you're in. If you're touring a workshop, I can tell you, sometimes the money's really good and sometimes it's not. And if the money's not good on that one when you need it to be good, and you've put all this effort into it, yeah. So I am so glad I started to do the deposit. It felt like a self-respecting move. It felt like a taking self-care move. I was taking care of myself, so I wasn't so anxious all the time. Yeah, so maybe that's all I want to say about that. So mea culpa, I misrepresented. I should have been more accurate with my wording, but I'm glad it came up because it is a topic that's really worth discussing. How do you, and there's a bigger conversation here around risk, yeah, that the real benefit of Pay What You Can is it reduces the risk for them to attend. And there's 2 more thoughts. It reduces the risk for them to attend, but it increases your risk in a real way. And so this is always a balance we have in business. How do I reduce the risk for them without exposing myself to, a crushing amount of risk? That's a constant tension. It never goes away. It never stops. Don't ever try to get on the other side of it. We're always trying to balance that. Okay, I can do this guarantee. So for example, if you offer a guarantee and nobody has ever asked you for a refund, you're probably fine. You're probably going to be okay. But it's like if you do get requests for refunds, all of a sudden you offer a guarantee, you got to really think twice about that. You want to think it through very carefully. And so those are things we have to balance. And the other thing I was going to say was, oh man, I had it. Trying to work on the balance. Oh yeah, the other thing is this. So Pay What You Can, when I I mean, it works. It gets more people there. I've done this at my workshops where I say, raise your hand if you would not have come to this workshop if you had to pay the full price. Because I offer 3 options. They can pay $200 for a day-long workshop, a 3 pay of $67, or $25 plus page can. And they, and I've seen the lowest ratio I've seen is like, 4 times the amount of people came than would have come. And I've seen it all the way up to like 20 times more people, in a group of 60. Raise your hand if you would have come. Anyways, like 3 people raised their hand out of 60. So that's 20 times the response. So part of the challenge, though, is as much as PWYC reduces the risk for them, there is a risk in it. And this took me years to see with PWYC, which is this. I was doing a workshop in Calgary, and there was this older couple. I don't remember their names. I just remember I really liked them. And they'd said on a feedback form that they were thinking about coming to my weekend workshop because I'd just done an evening intro. And so I followed up with them. And I said, hey, you're thinking about coming? Do you have any questions? And they said, we don't think we're actually going to come. And I said, oh, no. I was looking forward to having you there. I said, why? And they said, well, it's PWYC. We don't think we can afford to pay you what it's worth, and we don't want to insult you. And I realized that this was actually happening a lot, that people were nervous that they weren't going to be able to pay me enough. So the thing is, the deposit helps contend with that because people know you're at least getting some money. You're at least getting something from the deal. And if it's just PWYC, sometimes the shame and the guilt, oh my God, I don't want to offend, I don't want to not give enough, that's a risk too. Isn't it strange? They want to be so generous with you, and they don't want to offend you. They don't want to insult you. So that's something that I saw, and I think having a deposit helps diminish that. The other thing I'd say about the email I sent out with Danny is a part of why maybe I've been a little looser on the language, even in my own workshops, is I've been very clear with people. It's a $100 deposit plus PWYC for the weekend workshop, and if you can't even afford $100, just let me know, and we'll work something out. Nobody's going to be turned away due to a lack of money. And for a while, that was true in my head, but I never, I didn't write it, and then I wrote it, but it was hidden. And so, if you have that kind of policy, it's just good to be clear about that. It's good to be upfront that, hey, if money's tight, this is part of why I do PWYC. Just let me know and we'll work something out. Nobody's going to be turned away. And that's not true in Danny's situation, I don't think. And so, and I think, and justifiably so, given how much one-on-one time people are going to get from his coaches and one-on-one support. Financially it probably wouldn't be stable if a lot of people came in who couldn't pay anything. So fair enough. But these are all things that are good to be clear about. So anyways, let my fuck up be a lesson for you all, and I thought it would just be a good opportunity to unpack this notion of PWYC deposits, the reasons for that. Here's the other thing. Administratively, this has always felt like a nightmare, but I admire this so much. This is something else you could do with a deposit. I've seen this, people do it with workshops. They say it's a $300 deposit to come to the workshop, but that $300 is refunded to you when you show up at the workshop. It's sent back to you. So the deposit is really just, do you have skin in the game? And if you no-show, we keep the money, but if you show up, you get it back, and then it's a real PWYC at the end. I think that's probably the most ethical, that's the cleanest version, and I just, at a technical level, felt so overwhelmed. Oh my God, how to do this, especially early on. It was just me. I didn't really have an assistant, and the thought of, I just didn't know, did I write checks to everybody? And it just felt like a bit of a nightmare, and felt easier logistically to not do it. So, but my hat off to people who do that, because I think it's a beautiful way to do it. Keeps it extremely clean, makes it 100% PWYC, and has the self-respect of, if you don't show up and your spot could have gone to somebody else. I suppose that's the other consideration to have is, do you have a capacity of a maximum number of people? Because if you don't, it's one thing, and if you do, it's another. If you do have a maximum capacity, let's say the room you're renting can only hold 20 people. There's only 20 chairs, you know, and then people no-show, and you turned people away. You see what I'm saying? That's a real opportunity cost. But if you have a room that could, you know, fit 1,000 people, and you get, you know, you're not turning anyone away. You're not losing money if they don't show up. So in that way, the deposit from that standpoint doesn't matter so much, because you can't say, yeah, but because you didn't show up, somebody else lost an opportunity and all of that, and I lost some money. So that's another factor to consider in all of this. Anyways, again, I hope that's helpful for everyone. Long video today, but a worthy topic, because I know a lot of people are considering this whole PWYC thing. I'll put a link to my ebook below. And if you have any questions about this, comments, reflections, please share it in the comments. I do read all the comments, even if I can't reply to them all. And as always, if you like these videos, please just hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. And thank you everyone who shares these videos. I'm so grateful. Every once in a while I get tagged, or, you know, somebody says they saw a video in some Facebook group they're in that I've never heard of. And I'm just extremely grateful to whoever is doing that. And if that's you, thanks so much. Marketingforhippies.com is my website. Feel free to check it out anytime. Take care.